Hey, what's up, Rainmaker family? Just want to thank you so much for being a listener of the Rainmaker Family Show. I hope you had a Merry Christmas and you're having a Happy New Year. I'm recording this right before the New Year, and we've been very much laying low as a family during the holiday season. Had family in town. It's been a lot of fun. Also got sick. I feel like everyone's getting sick right now, but we're on the tail end of it, and we're looking towards 2025. It's going to be a hopeful, amazing year. Now, as we go into 2025, you might be wanting to plan for the year. Maybe you've already done some planning. And this last Monday, I did a training in our mastermind community around the topic of pre planning your year. So if you haven't tried this technique out yet, it's really helpful because it puts you in a more proactive planning around your year as opposed to reactive. I believe time is a lot like money. And if you don't kind of tell it where to go, it'll just kind of budget itself, right? It'll just kind of go where it goes. And so you can live your year in reactivity, or you can plan in advance your year to set yourself up for success. So I want to play you this call. It's a mentorship Monday call. We do this every other Monday in our community, some sort of topic that's going to help them in business or life. I wanted to bring it to you as well. This is how to pre-plan your year and set yourself up for success, making sure you have a family first model when it comes to your calendar for 2025. So with that, I'm going to play this clip. Enjoy, and we'll see you in the new year. The last 2 years, we've done this with our calendar going into the new year, and it's been so helpful. You see, I have a calendar behind me, and I'll show you that in just a second. And I'll let you guys know what works for us. Will it work for you? I think so. You might have to customize it to you and your family. But as Chelsey and I have grown our family, we've grown our businesses, we live a very full life. It's really essential that we tell time what to do. Don't let time tell us what to do. It's very similar to money, right? Like if you kind of don't tell your money what to do, it'll sometimes just disappear. I feel like having a budget can be really helpful. Same thing with time, having a calendar budget. I don't like to call it that, but it's really nice to look forward and plan as much as you can. Like you can't plan everything, but giving some framework to your year is going to really help you thrive. And so that's what I'll be talking about today on today's Mentorship Monday. So if you guys have notes of any sort, I would grab a notepad. I'm going to give you some resources and some things that have been really helpful for me. And let me grab my notes. Speaking of it, because I was typing this out just ahead of time here. And so when it comes to planning your year, what I really want to talk about today is pre-planning your year. And I'm going to kind of go a little bit backwards. I'll tell you kind of like everything me and Chelsey do. You might do some of these, you might do all these, you might just pull one of these things. But the one thing that I wanted to kind of talk about right at the beginning was this right here. Okay. This right here. Boom. Okay. This is one of the most helpful exercises, especially if you have a lot going on in your life with your family, with your kids. And this is like finding, I'll show you guys how to get this. You can get it for free. I bought this template for like $2 on Etsy because it just was faster than me Googling and finding one I could download that was exactly what I wanted. But what this is, it's a whole year calendar on one piece of paper. Okay. Now what this forces you to do is it forces you to kind of map things out in a way that's you can't write tons of detail in there. You can't be like, oh, it's not like your actual calendar where you can put a million details. This is like a really high level overview of your year. And why I like it because it's on one piece of paper. And if you color code it in a specific way, which I'll teach you about, you can really just at a glance look at it and go like, does it feel like balanced? Does it feel like, oh, that's kind of like crazy. Like one year, I mean, I'll tell you a personal story about this year, but like we honestly looked at it this year and it was like too much business travel. And we actually were in a mastermind that we discontinued being a part of, or we're going to in January because of this calendar. Because we looked at this and we're like, we want to build a family first business. And here's the constraints we have on that. This is what we want to prioritize. And when we looked at it, it was like, you know what? It actually feels more peaceful without that in there. Even though it's a super high ROI, we love the experience. We love the people in there. This one year particularly, because of the other stuff on this calendar, we're going to cut it. So it's a really helpful exercise. So let me show you how to get one of these if you want to try this out. And I'll show you how we map it out and kind of the things we think through. And then I'll kind of work my way backwards into like a little more granular goal setting. But I wanted to like, if you take one thing away, the calendar is a really helpful tip to like pre-plan your year. Okay. Pre-plan your year. So if you want to do this, what I'd recommend doing is go to Google. Okay. Go to Google. I'm going to share my screen here and search for like, annual calendar one page. Okay. One page. That's the key. Having it on one page. Okay. And when I did this, one of the first things that popped up was this Etsy listing for just like a digital product, right? So I was in a hurry. I was just like, cool, $2, bought it, right? This is the exact one I got. And I like this one because it's horizontal. You have January through December, and this is the entire month, right? In one thing. It's not color coordinated or anything. But why I like the horizontal format, you don't have to do this, but it allows you to kind of see like how long things are and kind of feel how long they are. When something is like 2 weeks on here, it actually just like, wow, that's like a big portion of the month. It kind of feels bigger than it helps it feel as big as it is because this is an entire year. When you map this out and you look at it, it feels like, wow, like this is gonna fly by, but it's like this is a whole year, right? And so I liked this one. It was like one of the first one that popped up on Google. There's also in Canva, okay, if you search for just like annual planner, year planner, 2020, this is 2024, so you need to find a 2025 one. But they have ones like this. These ones are vertical, so similar concept, but they're vertical. See January, February, March, April, May. But the idea is you can print this out. And what I did is I printed out two of these, okay? And you might want even three, okay? And go to the coffee shop with your spouse, your partner, maybe with your whole family, and you're gonna sit down with this thing and just like talk. And you're gonna start like I like two or three copies because the first copy you're just like messing up. You're just like putting stuff in there and then scribbling it out and like, okay, no, we got to move that to here. Okay, when are we gonna do that vacation? No, wait, actually, okay, it doesn't work here because it's spring. Right, so you're like moving stuff around. So the first copy is like just messy, and then the second copy, like mine is still has stuff crossed out, but the second copy is just a little cleaner. Okay, and how we like to do this is first, we like to just talk high level, right? We like to talk high level and go like, what are I don't know, what are some goals for the year, right? Like not like I'm not talking like business goals. I'm talking like just more like family goals, right? So for us, it was like, hey, we'd love to do like 3 vacations this year, like as a family, not business related. We'd love to like just get away with the family 3 times, right? That was just like a high level goal. We have no idea of where or dates or anything, but we just like had that as a goal. Okay. Let me look at my notes because we had a bunch of other ones. We wanted to do a trip to see our friends in Atlanta. They live in Atlanta. That's a big trip, but we want to see them this year. We want to make it happen. So we put that on like our just high level. If we can make that happen this year, that'd be awesome. Right. What else is on our thing? We had our masterminds that we were in. So this is a business related thing. So we like, we're writing down those masterminds. Right. And we're like, oh, that one mastermind, they always do like pod retreats with the pod. So like wrote that in there. Right. So this is before we cut it down. Um, we were like, hey, something after Christmas might be cool, right? Like that kind of the time right now between Christmas and New Year's, it's kind of like a very slow season for our businesses. And it's a great time if we're going to travel, do something then. We put that in there, right? And then we have other goals that are a little more specific, like, or I would say vague, but we make them specific in our calendar. And so, like, one of our goals is like, we want to raise generous kids. We want to raise boys, right? There are going to be men that are generous, right? We have a 5-year-old now. He just turned 5 on Christmas Eve, and a 2-year-old. So, how do you do that, right? Well, of course, we live it out in front of them, but could we put something in the calendar that intentionally starts to build that in them, right? So, for us, we do something called Giving Saturdays. And so Giving Saturdays is a once a month thing that's in the calendar. That's like some sort of generous thing that they get to be a part of and witness so that it gets it in their system. Like this is just part of our DNA as the Diaz family, Giving Saturdays, right? So we have stuff like that. That's like, that's a big goal of like raising generous children, right? That are going to be generous adults. Okay. That's just something that our family wants to carry. And so how do we do that? We break it into something actually tangible throughout the year that we're gonna throw in the calendar. Okay. The other thing that we do with this, you can see mine's a bunch of different colors. I know it's not in focus, but I have at the top um a little what do you call this? A key. Okay, a key. And in my key, now yours might look different because our life, the big things that fill our calendar are these things. Okay. So business travel is one of them. That's blue for me. Family travel, that's orange. Personal events, okay, that's red. And then money making events, okay, that'd be green. Okay. So money making events would be like a big launch, you're launching a product. And you know, it's gonna be like a lot of energy, right? That's going to go into that thing during a shorter window of time. That for us is always in the calendar, okay? So for you, it could be similar. Business, there could be personal, there could be product launches. Maybe you have different members of the family doing different things, and you kind of want to align calendars and see how it aligns. We have different colors for those things, right? And you have one color that's everyone together, and you have one color that's like, okay, this is like, wow, this kid's spring break, this kid's spring break, right? So I like to have colors on here because again, we're gonna map it out. Then it helps us see like, is it balanced? If it's all the same color, it's just gonna look like crazy. But like when I know that business is blue and personal is orange, I can really clearly see, is it balanced here in that like we're prioritizing family throughout this year where business is definitely in there, right?
We talk all the time about the importance of finding who's for your to dos so you can focus on your strengths. That's where Fiverr comes in. It's an affordable solution that can help you dip your toe into buying back your time. I'll never forget the first time I discovered Fiverr and realized I could have people help me in my business for as little as $5. Whether you need graphics, design, videos, animation, even music, voiceovers, or cute drawing of your family for an upcoming gift. Discovering Fiverr was a game changer. Head over to rainmakerfamily.com/deals to create your account and get your special hookup. Again, that's rainmakerfamily.com/deals.
So that's a key thing. The other key thing that we talk about before we kind of start to put dates on the calendar is we talk about constraints, and I write those at the bottom. And so constraints, it's really helpful to define these before you go into a year. And oftentimes you can define them by looking at past years. And so we looked at this year or past years. We're like, hey, how are we feeling? Like, was it too much business travel? Was it too much personal travel? Was it too little of this thing? Right? We kind of like feel out where our constraints are. And so, like again, this is just for our family. Our business like does require us to travel a good amount. But one of our constraints we have is that we'll only do 2 travel events or something like that per month. Okay. For us, like if there's a speaking gig or whatever, and we have 2 already on the calendar, we're gonna say no to it. Because we just know that our family does well when like our boys do well when we're not traveling 3 times a month. Like it's just crazy. And so we say 2 times a month, 3 only if it's incredibly epic or solo, okay? So we'll only do that 3rd travel thing if it's like maybe I get invited to, I don't know, speak with Tony Robbins or something. Like that'd be like an epic, wow, you can't say no to this thing. That'd be the only time we say yes to it. But most of the time it's 2 and done. So if we look at the month, an opportunity comes up to do something and it's a business thing, and we already have 2 on there, we're gonna say no. We're gonna say, "Hey, sorry, we're booked." We did that a ton last year. There's a lot of opportunities that came up, and we just had to say no to because we had this constraint in there. And this is not like restricting. This is actually creating freedom for our family, so we know that like, hey, this is how our family functions well. We can't be traveling more than this, right? So where are your bandwidth as a family? For us, me and Chelsea do travel for masterminds or events, speaking, that type of thing. For us, 4 to 5 days away from our kids is like the max we do, you know? If it's gonna be longer than that, we're gonna bring them with us. We just find that, like, at the ages that they're in, it's just a long time, to be away or to have parents watching them or nanny and, like, juggling them around. Like, it's just a long time. So this has gone up as they've gotten older. Like, it used to be, like, 2 nights, you know? But now they're older, 4 to 5 days, that's kinda where we're at. If it's gonna be, like, a week-long thing, we're gonna bring them with us, and we're gonna figure it out. So, again, that's for our family. Would that apply to your family? I don't know. But think about, like, are there constraints you wanna kinda just, like, talk about as a high level when you look at months or weeks that went really well for your family versus ones that were just chaotic and crazy? Could you engineer this in advance and set some boundaries around your calendar so that you are setting yourself up for having an amazing year, okay? So from there, we have kind of the color code, we have the constraints, then we just start going through and we start going, what do we know? Like, okay, like we know these business things are happening. Boom, boom, boom. Like I know I'm going to Seller Summit in Florida in May. Okay. It's a ecom seller event. I know for sure I'm going to that. So I put it in there. And you see this little block. That's my little blue block. Seller Summit. Boom. Right. Me and Chelsea did this thing last year. Feel free to steal this. Mother's Day and Father's Day, we do solo trips. Okay. It doesn't have to be like doing something crazy. It could just be like she just goes to the town next door, gets a hotel by herself, and just has her own space for like a night and a day. And so she does that for Mother's Day. I do that for Father's Day. That's something we're like, oh, that was awesome. We did that this year. And so we're doing that again. So we put that in there. For us, that's personal, right? So we put that in our personal card. Boom, boom, right? It's right in there. Right. We know we had this invite to Portugal. I put that in there, but then I crossed it out because I was like, that's just crazy. We don't go to Portugal in this season. And so we're not doing that. Okay. So we just start going through and putting in the stuff we know. And then, like, if you look at your bigger goals, like, let's say we want to do 3 family vacations this year, then we go, okay, where is there space? We know these things are in there. Let's put those in, right? Let's get the family vacation, like here around my birthday time, let's do something, right? Around Chelsea's birthday, let's do something there. And then that after Christmas time, boom, it's in there, right? I recommend getting as much of the family personal stuff in here first before business stuff. And again, depending on what type of business level you're at, the business may require more of you. You may have to put more in the calendar. But definitely getting family in here first is going to be ideal. Um, and that's it. Okay, that's it. So this is super helpful. The one pager, like I said, make a messy one, then make a nice one. And then if you want to make it awesome, get a big one. Okay. So this is what I have behind me. You can buy these on Amazon. I got this ad for this one this year. It's called the Big S calendar. Okay. There you go. Boom. And it comes with stickers. This is super helpful to have up in an office or somewhere in your house where everyone can look at it and we can just like we can update it as the year goes. It has the high level stuff. It's not like every day soccer practice with Kaizen. Like it's not that. It's the big stuff. Okay. It's the big stuff you want to know about, to plan your energy around, to know like this thing's coming. Of course, you can have your daily calendar or whatever, but like this has been so helpful for us and color coding it. And like I said, it helps you actually like when we did this, it was me and Chelsea in a coffee shop, and when we first looked at it, we were like, just looking at this year, like this is 2025, we were like, it's too much. Like we just both felt a little overwhelmed. And so we just started asking, what can we cut? Are we gonna cut the family vacations? No. We're not gonna cut the personal stuff, we're gonna cut the business stuff. So we dropped out of a mastermind that we're in because that particular mastermind had a week-long event in January, a week-long event in the fall, and then had like 2 or 3 other travel events. It was just like so much, And we love this mastermind. We've been in it 2 years, high ROI, but we said, let's take a pause this year because of family stuff we're trying to plan. So it was really helpful. And as soon as we did that, it was like the peace came back. So that's what I'd encourage you guys to do. Plan your calendar in a way that gives you peace. And if it's not peaceful, what can you cut? Right. Because you only have so many nutrients, you only have so much energy to put into the things you want to grow, family, relationships, your wealth, like your business. So protect it. Okay. Protect it. So that's the big thing. If you want to take one thing away, that's the one thing. Get your 1-page calendar, start planning it out, create some constraints, color code it, see if it's balanced, put it on a big calendar, talk about it with your family. And this is so helpful to do just so you're not reactive all year. You're planning in advance. Here's what the big thing's going to happen. Even the business stuff. I want to launch a product on this time. I want to make sure my bulk order is ordered by this time. There goes my calendar. Okay, that's gonna fall over. Um, put that stuff in the calendar, right? So you can block your time around it. All right. So that's my big thing I want to share with you guys today. I have a couple other thoughts on this. I'll share just on like goal setting. But again, I don't want to overwhelm you. If you do one thing, that's the easy thing to do. Okay. As far as like goal setting goes for the year, there's a million different ways to do this. And honestly, I don't love prescribing one way because each year is different. And like, I mean, last year we had super specific goals. When I do this, exactly that. And this year we just have a little bit more vague goals. And it's just due to the season of life we're in. We just moved our entire family out of our comfort zone, basically. Like we are in the town that Chelsea was born and raised in. Both of our parents were there. And we just moved to an entirely different town. Because of that, it's totally changing our goals for 2025. Not to say we're not driven and going to hit like whatever it is, but we're just like, hey, we really want to lean into more just getting rooted here, and just like getting established, meeting friends, like all that stuff that's like you just kind of take for granted. We're putting more space in our calendar by having our goals be a little more vague. So I actually have a note in my phone that's like 2025 goals, 2024, 2023. It goes all the way back to like, I don't know, 2015 when we started to really like plan goals. And you can see this. Some years are going to be really specific, measurable, like you call these SMART goals, right? Specific, measurable. What does SMART stand for? It's like it's five different things: specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, time bound, right? So like if you want to set goals, that's a great way to do it. They have to be specific, right? It has to be, what is it really? Is it measurable? Can you like in a court of law be like, yes, this was measurable. I did this. Is it realistic, like achievable, right? Can you actually do it? Is it relevant? Is it taking you in the direction you really want to go, right? And is it time bound? Like I want to do this by this date. That's like if you really want to be specific, SMART goals. That's one way to do it. And some years we have a ton of SMART goals, right? It's this big goal. Here's what we're gonna do. Then we take that big goal and we break it down into littler goals. Like the goal, one of our goals in 2020, 4 was to hit 1,000,000 followers on Instagram. We really wanted to lean into organic. Actually spent, I mean, organic means you're not spending money, but we did spend a lot of money on Instagram growth strategies. And that's where like all this media channel mastery and all this stuff came from that you guys know of. We got to 800,000 followers in 1 year. So we got really close to that goal and we would have hit the goal, but some stuff happened on Instagram that kind of hindered our account, unfortunately. But we'll get there. We'll hit it in 2025. But that's an example of like that was a smart goal. I was like, we think we can do this. We mapped it out, and then we broke it into every quarter. Like every quarter, we got to hit basically, X amount of followers, and that means every day we need to hit this many followers. And we just mapped it out, right? And so I'd encourage you if you have big goals that are like, this is for the year. I want to be, I want to have a six pack abs, like whatever it is. Like that's too big. You got to break it down into littler things. Like I'll give you another example. Me and Chelsea, like we always have relationship goals, right? So like we set goals in three areas, relationship, health, wealth, relationships, right? Health being like fitness, it could be spiritual health, mental health, emotional health, it could be anything in the health realm. Relationships being like anything with our kids, with each other, with family, extended family, and immediate family, and then and friendships. And then wealth will be anything around money. Um, making money, investing money, protecting money, whatever, like, financial. Okay, so those are like the 3 areas that we're typically when we're thinking about goals, we're just gonna think through those 3 areas. One of the ones that we always have in the relationships category is like, growing our marriage, right? But that's like such a vague goal. It's not like specific. So for us, like you could see on our calendar, is it in here? Oh, no, it's not in there. It's on the big one. I put it in this one, but I put some of them in this one, but on the big one, it's on there. So every one of the things that we do for our marriage is we heard this thing called the 222. Has anyone heard of the 222? So 222 is every 2 weeks, you do a date night. Every 2 months, you do an overnight. Every 2 years, you do a 2-week trip, which I thought was pretty intense, but really cool. Okay. So we made up our own. We do the 2-3-4. Okay. So we do the 2-3-4. This is something we used to never do. Like we do set goals. Let's not just check in on at the next time we're setting goals next year. Let's look every quarter back and say, like, how are we doing on this goal? Is that still where we want to point this direction with our lives and like still going after that thing? Yes, yes, yes. We kind of like check in on it. So every quarter, me and Chelsea do that. And that you can see this. I got it in orange, one there, one there, one there, and one there. Right. So like 4 for the year. And then the date nights every 2 weeks, boom, 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 boom. We put that in there. Those do change because, like, you know how it is. Oh, we can't do it that night, can't do it this night, but it's in the calendar already. Every 2 weeks, we just know it's on there. If it's not going to work out that week, we're going to change it, but it's going to be within a week of that week. And we're going to get it in every 2 weeks at minimum. Every 3 months, we're doing the overnight. And then what was the 4 one? Oh, shoot. 4. Oh, I got it. I got it backwards. I got it backwards. So every 2 weeks, day night, 3 family trips per year, and then and then 4 quarterly check-ins. That was it. So every quarter, that's the 4. Okay. So every quarter we do the overnight. We want to do 3 family trips, and then we do 2 every 2 weeks date night. That's the 2-3-4. Okay. Again, we just made that up. But it's something we do every year, and it's been really helpful, right? It's so helpful to know, man, we got a date night. There's all stuff going on we want to talk about with the kids and things like that. business is going crazy, doing all this stuff with friends and all these things, just having that space in the calendar at least every 2 weeks. In this move, we've been doing like almost every week, just to connect and just have that time. But that's a tangible habit that leads towards this bigger goal of like, let's grow in our marriage, right? Let's continue growing in our marriage, continue pursuing each other and learning to love each other at higher levels, right? Like that doesn't just happen if you don't put something on the calendar, right? So, let me look at my notes here. The other thing that we do, I talked about the 3 areas. We set goals in wealth, health, wealth, relationships. Okay. We pre-plan the year. We try to make goals as tangible as possible by like creating them into habits, right? If you want to have the 6 pack ab or whatever, right? What does that actually mean? Daily, weekly, like what is it? What is the KPI you need to do to actually hit that end of your goal or whatever it is? So even like I said, for the generosity thing, that's a vague goal, but we try to make it specific throughout the year. How do we instill this in our kids? Okay. The last thing that we do, I feel like I haven't done this as consistently, but if you are like kind of like, I don't know, it's kind of one of those years. I'm not gonna set really specifics and be a little more open-handed with the year. I think you should always be open-handed, but we've definitely had those years, and this is definitely one of them for us. We have some specific goals, but a lot less than normal. And we kinda have more of a compass, but less of a roadmap. Does that make sense? So, if that's you this year, then I'd say, like, going for the word of the year, like, going for, like, a theme, like, really, "Hey, what is happening right now that you really feel like you're supposed to be leaning into learning what's that one word?" If there's something that's kinda come in your spirit, it's probably that one, okay? So, like, what is that word? For 2024 for us, it was trust, and that we took a big step of trust, which was moving, right? And just like uprooting our lives and doing all these things. Like this was like us trusting God and like being like, okay, we really feel like we're supposed to do this, but it's crazy, on paper. And so we did it, right? Like this has been a huge year of building trust in that and just like trusting us as a family, trusting our systems, trusting the business, trusting God, right? And so 2024, that was the word. 2025, I got another word. And Chelsea's got a different word. But if you're like, hesitant to set the specific goals, I would try to set a compass like that. Like, what's that one word for the year that's like, "Hey, I wanna kinda come back to this word consistently and filter my decisions through it," right? Filter, like, is this moving me towards this thing, you know? One of the words I actually got 3 words for 25, I'll share one of them. One of them is margin, but not just, like, financial margin, but, like, just margin in general, time margin, right? Like, having more margin in my calendar, having more margin in profitability in businesses, right? Like having more margin in even like, yeah, more of the time thing, relationships. If anyone has a word, I'd love to hear it. Drop it in the chat. You got one that's kind of like, oh, I feel like this is for 2025. Drop it in the chat. That margin word was a very random one for me. Usually it's something like trust, like margin felt like a little different. Cherish said gather. I love that. That's very cool. Gather. Jennifer said learn/grow. Learn/grow. That's good. The word can be helpful. It's almost like a compass. I like thinking of it like a compass because you never know what the year is gonna hold, right? Like, you don't know what opportunities are gonna come your way. You don't know what decisions you're gonna have to make. You don't know what life is gonna throw you, you know? But it kinda gives you a compass to go like, "Okay, this I feel like I'm supposed to go this direction. Is it in alignment with this?" Right? Like, cherish for you. Is it in alignment with this gather word? Like, is it bringing me together? Is it unifying? Is it like, relational, right? Like it gives you a compass to kind of filter the decision. So not to say everything's going to be like, you might need some introvert time too, right? But it could give you that compass to like help. If you have 2 options, you have 2 decisions, if something comes up, how can you come back to this thing? That's good. The other thing that me and Chelsea do on our quarterly, I'll just talk about this, and then I know we're almost at like kind of the hour here. The other thing that we do on our quarterly check-ins, right? So this doesn't have to be an overnight. We sometimes do an overnight. That's the goal is that we go just like a staycation, find a hotel nearby, go there, get away from the house, just different environments, things that can really help. But sometimes in a busier season, we've just gone to a coffee shop and done this, and there's like blocked like 4 or 5 hours. And in that time, we look at the goals we set for the year. We do our annual planning um, in like November. So we've already done it for 2025. So in Q1, right, quarter one, 4 quarters in the year, we have an overnight. I forget what ours is, February, mid February. We're gonna do one. Haven't booked it. Like I'm not thinking logistics at all, right? I'm just having it in the calendar. I know it's gonna happen. We'll book it like a couple weeks out. But on that time, we'll definitely look at our goals that we set for the year. Go like, how are we doing on these things? Again, like I said, this year, not a ton of really specific goals, but we will look at them. Sometimes we tweak things. Sometimes we're like, okay, let's shift this. We thought it was this, but it's actually this. We'll tweak it a little bit. We'll discuss it. We also will take a look at our family values. So this is an exercise we went through a while back, but we created like 5 family values, right? That are like I talked about the generosity one. That's one of them, and we'll actually kind of like rank ourselves. I know this sounds weird, but like this is what we do. Like we want to grow in these areas, and we want to hold each other accountable to growing in these areas, and help our kids grow in these areas, right? So we'll go, okay, on a scale of 1 to 10, how one of ours is to be radically generous, right? So like how radically generous were we this quarter, And then at the end of the year, we kind of do it for the year, and it's really helpful to see like, okay, here's where we're kind of landing on these things. Not to be like down on yourself if you didn't do it, but it's just like one of those things where it's like, if we want to get this a part of our, like continue to have this be a part of our legacy, we want to continue to be creative. Like that's another one of ours, like just being creative. Me and Chelsea both love being creative. If it was down that quarter, like what can we do next quarter to kind of shift it? Oh, hey, you want to join this thing or do this, like add this thing on your calendar. I'll support you in that. Like if Chelsea's feeling down in the area, I know she's not going to be at her best self in other areas, right? And so it really is about loving each other, loving the family, and just checking in. Having those check-in points is super helpful. So we kind of go through those. We go through the health, wealth, and relationships. We kind of like rank ourselves there. Like, how are we doing on these things? Let's check in. And then we go through our family values and we check in on those. And we kind of say, like, how are we doing in these things with us, with each other, with our with our with our kids. And that's just been so helpful. Like we used to not do that. We used to set goals. And then at the end of the year, you come look back on them and you're like, oh wow, we did some of those. Like, like you kind of forget about some of them. And you're like, oh, I totally forgot about that one. But we actually did that one and that one. And like that's cool to see. But like the quarterly check-ins have been so helpful. Just to take a pause, reassess, reevaluate, and check in on some things because you can pivot things. Like we set a goal for last year to do solo. So like, we had the date night thing, right? That was helpful for our relationship. But we also we had, very fairly recently gone from 1 kid to 2 kids, right? And so we wanted to like make sure we're filling each kid's love cup, right? Like just spending intentional one-on-one time, me with Kai, me with Ollie, Chelsea with Kai, Chelsea with Ollie. So we did have it as a goal last year to go, hey, we'd love to do basically at least one solo kind of like date day with or time, me with Kai, me with Ollie once a week, and then same with Chelsea, her with Kai, her with Ollie. And that one just honestly didn't happen. Like it just with the calendar, like it happened here and there, but it's like we don't get down on ourselves being like, oh, we totally missed this one. We just go, okay, how can we shift this a little bit, to make it work for our family and our rhythms. And oh, could you take Kai to this thing that you normally do by yourself? Oh yeah, I could. Right. So it helps you have those conversations to start keep hitting those goals or mold them in a way that's going to work with your family. Because you set stuff at the beginning of the year, you don't know what the year is going to hold. And those check-in points are so, so helpful. That was it for the day for you guys with planning. I'll give you some extra time back in your calendar. If you haven't tried something like this, try it. Google 1 page annual calendar. Okay. Find one that's all on 1 page, color code it, and just roughly map it out. Right. You might do this. You might have your husband do it. You might compare calendars. Maybe you guys, like I know me and Chelsea have always run a business together. So it's really easy to do this together. But maybe you have a business and your husband has a business and you got to do this separate. Or he's got work trips and things like that. So do it separate, bring it together, see how it lines. Oh, wow. Like your business trip is at the same time as my product launch. I should probably adjust my product launch, right? Or can you adjust this thing, right? So it's about a team effort. Maybe you have older kids. They got stuff going on. They got trips. They got things. So you could do this as a family, have everyone fill them out, bring them together. We do this with our team, our Rainmaker team. We just did an annual planning trip and we had our leadership team come together. Hey, we even had family vacations on there. I'm going on vacation. I'm going on vacation. okay, we're doing this launch for Rainmakers, we're doing this thing, I wanna do this thing, right? Like, we have Inner Circle in the fall, we're onto the castle again, like, we just put it all on the calendar. It was really helpful to see, "Oh, wow, like, this works. Okay, that doesn't work, let's move it to here." Pre-planning the calendar, okay? Being proactive instead of reactive. So, if you haven't done it, do it, okay? Love you all, we'll talk to you very soon, and I'll see you in the new year. Bye.